planner and advisor, Kevin Wilkeson. Kevin's been a friend and a client on my marketing agency side for some time now. And Kevin works with a lot of different types of individuals, and I'm sure healthcare people as well. And I said, Kevin, would you come on the podcast and would you share with nurses, like, what's your big tip? Like, if you were just to spend 5 minutes with a nurse or a healthcare professional who is, mid to high income, and they want to really set themselves up for financial independence, like, what would you tell them to do? How would you tell them to structure things? And let's just go from there. But before we get into the conversation, Kevin, you want to kind of share with the audience a little bit about your background and what it is you do?
Yeah, so background, been in financial advising services for a number of years, helping families, to kind of see where they are and be able to help them to get a plan to where it goes past just them, it goes to their kids and their grandkids, and so typically, I've got a family of five grown sons, ages from 32, 28, 27, 23, and 18. So,
Jeez.
yeah. And, I'm into the, not a senior yet, but, thinking about, my kids and my grandkids, at this point, and, kind of where I would like them to, my philosophy is always to help make, our ceiling their floor, to where
Mm.
they can take what we have and what we've entrusted to them, in all areas of our lives, from relationships to finances to family, to their relationship in their faith, and to where they perpetuate that to the next generation, because you want to see, to me, you want to see that should impact at least the third generation. So from what you have, so
So how can a nurse, how can a nurse build wealth? And so you're really talking about like generational wealth
mhm.
transfer. Is that what
Yep,
you're saying?
yep, and
Okay.
I think it's doable. A lot of times, especially early on, people tend to think, well, that's just for the ultra wealthy or the wealthy,
Hmm.
and that can be for anyone. If you have to know your numbers, and you have to know what to watch out for, what to prepare for, and that's I see that in the nursing field, as far as they deal with, especially I spent some time, one of my family members was in the ICU for a considerable amount of time, and no patient was the same coming in there, right? And so they always
Hmm.
had to strategize as far as what that patient's needs were, and to be flexible. But the goal was to get the patient healed, which was the case of my family member, and fully restored, and on track. And so, to me, nurses really, they have extreme servant's heart, because they just roll with the punches, and sometimes to see people
We get
not
punched sometimes, so
yeah,
that's
I
not
have
a.
heard that. I've heard that. I couldn't believe I saw the sign in the hospital that says violence will not be tolerated, and I'm like, who's throwing hands in the hospital? And
Well,
they're
that's really a sign for the nurses to not get violent with the patients who
right.
when they've had it up to there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that can
And
go
so
both ways.
it takes a lot of patience for nurses. Truly a servant's heart, servant of servants' hearts, I believe, and
So
they see.
not to cut you off, but
Yeah.
I think as a caregiver, it's easy to put everyone else before yourself,
Hmm.
and like you obviously you put your patients before yourself. Sometimes you put your coworkers before yourself because yeah, you work those that long. You take the call on the holiday weekend, or you work
Right.
that shift where you had something planned, but you change your plans to help someone else
Hmm.
out. Right?
Right.
Like nurses are just wired that way, and
Yes.
it's very easy for us to take care of everyone else except ourselves. And
Exactly.
I think this can trickle over into the financial side as well.
Yep.
And I've seen so many nurses who are supporting families, and they're delaying retirement because they want to get their kids
Mhm.
through college, or they want to get the house paid off so it takes burden off the family. And those are all great things, but like, what are some things that nurses can do? Because we make good money, and depending on where you're at, there's some locality adjustments. Here in Southern California, I make great money as a nurse, but I'm not wealthy from my nursing, because cost of living creeps, kind of to the, there's that lifestyle creep
Mhm.
of just, and also inflation. And there's a lot of things attacking our wealth. So, like, what is something that a nurse can do to help set up their family? Maybe not in the short term. I know there's no magic wands, quick
Mhm.
fixes, winning the lottery, right? Um,
Yeah, that'd
what
be
are some
nice.
things that a younger nurse who's starting out in the journey, or someone who's mid-career that has a 10, 20-year career horizon, that can do to really set themselves up not only for retirement but for options and flexibility along the way, you
Right.
know?
Right. So, the three, I say the three great enemies of wealth, three top concerns of people: live too long, die too soon, or they get sick. Right. They have a strategy, or they have a plan in place, but you need to know your numbers. You need to know where you are and where you're headed, and then you need to know the things that can come along that can take you out. Basically, if you don't have enough saved for retirement, or if the market has a correction, are you in the right products to where,
Define
um,
market correction, because there's a
uh,
lot of talk online about, I read an article yesterday or this morning how basically the Fed had dumped $18 billion
uh-huh,
into some bank that, who knows what they did, but it was basically to keep the bank solvent
right,
because of some accounting error or bad investment or over leverage, right?
right,
Like, so I feel like our economy is on this it's a house of cards,
right,
really.
exactly.
Inflation, I'm seeing charts of like inflationary spikes,
Hmm.
and it looks like the American cost of living, but actually it's the German Deutschmarks in the 1920s. It's like
Right.
there's so many correlations of our current economy to
Hmm.
past bubbles and bursts and correction cycles, which is a scary word.
Right.
Like, what does that mean to a wage worker like a nurse who
Hmm.
has money in a 401k, who has money in retirement?
Yeah, well, to me, and so I was one of the ones that got to experience 2008, right? If and just getting into the business at the time and listening to people that say, from then, when I first started in, they were like, we'll watch the market. We'll make sure, if it starts to take a correction, we'll have all the information ahead of time. And so what I found out in 2008 was that no one knew.
Well, I mean, when
All
you're
the
flying and the plane starts to go down, you know that you're going to crash, but it's not like you can
right,
do anything about it at that point.
exactly, exactly. But they were saying, oh, they would have these indicators that would tell them ahead of time, and one of the guys on television that was is he's still famous for picking stocks and stuff. And I just remember the commentators asking him at the time, what caused this downturn? And he doesn't have any answers. I mean, they dance around it all the time. So, you as far as a correction goes, people pull back from what they have invested in it. And so, whether it tanks or and takes a huge correction like an '08, or a slight dip, are you prepared to take that, or are you risking, basically, are you risking money that you can't afford to lose? Are you
Mm.
taking a step back when you can't afford to do that at this time? There are other, a lot of people are just straight up in mutual funds or stocks, but there's other investments that, maybe you don't take 100% of the gain, but maybe you take 80%, and you're guaranteed a safe return on your investment. I mean, whenever the market takes a correction like that, you don't take that correction. You don't go down. You don't get all of the gain, but you don't get any of the loss. And that's typically what I like to see people gravitate toward in their investments and that. And so, but then
So
some of the
is that a product or is that a strategy or what does that look like tactically? Is that something that I'm contributing to on like a monthly basis, or is that I'm giving you a lump sum and you're putting it into these vehicles?
you can put it into a monthly basis. It's something that you can contribute to um, monthly. But then it also, several of those types, they have what we call living benefits. So that to me, that protects you. You're protected in your income, but you're also protected, like say, if you have heart attack, stroke, cancer, become disabled, all those things that are very plausible, especially people in the nursing field can see, that day in, day out where people didn't, hey, they had accidents or they had something happen they didn't plan on. So, in
Hmm.
order to protect yourself, you're able to, uh, get quite a bit with that same account to where you're not having to, insure it somewhere else or have a different investment or see something like a car wreck, a head-on collision, to where it wipes out all your savings because now you have a bunch of medical bills that you didn't plan on. Where you have something in effect that you know can take care of that for you and take care of your family at the same time, to
So
where you know.
okay, so it provides, it's almost like a 301. It's kind of like a disability policy in a
Yeah.
sense with some
Yeah.
caveats. And then it's a investment vehicle,
Hmm.
right? And then like what is the name of these type of products? Is there
Uh,
an asset
most
class
popular,
they're called?
yeah, the most popular one out there is Index Universal Life Policy. And what you do is you typically you'll overfund that to where you're not looking to the life policy side of it, but you're looking more to create a tax-free retirement on it, and you also have, if you need access to the other things that it offers, as far as your like disability. I know a guy that was actually in California, um, and a retired police guy, police officer. He had a head-on collision, um, put him in traction in the hospital for a couple months, I believe. And he was able to, he had one of these policies in place, was able to draft from that policy, be able to he was able to get over, a couple $100,000 to help pay for his hospital bills and then his family and then his ongoing, income and that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he had to recover, but he didn't have to financially recover. He didn't lose a step. So that's, one of the enemies of wealth that I talk about is you get sick, you have an accident, something like that, which is, prone to happen to people, a large percentage of the time. So
Not nurses. We're invincible.
you're
Like,
right.
yeah, we take
You
care of
work
people.
with people
We're
that
not
think they're
patients.
invincible. Yeah, yeah,
No, it doesn't work that way.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. We were in Colorado, and they had people coming in. One guy had, of course, they had a lot of mountain injuries out there, and one guy had broke his femur and
Mm.
another guy had broke his face. And I'm like, oh wow. You go from extreme sports and having a great time to you're in traction, knocked out in the hospital and recovering, thinking you're invincible. But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, or nurses. We're moving a patient. We slip a
Mhm.
disc, right? And then we're getting back surgery.
Oh yeah,
So
lots of
um, I
things.
I think nursing. It's well, really any physical hands-on profession,
Hmm.
of which nursing is one of those, it's super important that you essentially protect your moneymaker. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that in a cheeky way. Like, you
Right.
are the moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
And so if you are in a position where you do not, I mean, this isn't a pitch for life insurance, right? We're not trying to sell
Right.
you any policy.
Right.
This is just the hard facts that if you are not properly insured and protected and people are relying on your income, that's bad. And
Yeah.
it's one thing to have life insurance. I've had life insurance ever since I've had over a million, 1.5 million term on myself. I have 250,000 on my wife.
Mhm.
Because if she were to pass away, and tragically, like it's not like I would still have to work and then I'd have to manage the kids and like you want. No one likes to think about life insurance, but it's one of those things that's a crucial part of life and adulting. And a lot of people have an employer benefits and they have 100,000 or 500,000 and that's
Mhm.
fine. But it's usually not enough. It usually
Right.
doesn't replace at least 10 years of income.
Right.
And a lot of the cheaper term policies, which are, easy to sign up for and hopefully you have, they don't have living benefits. They don't
Right.
have investment vehicles
Right.
attached to them, which are indexed to the market and also give you, there's just like a whole bunch of advantages. And
Yeah.
so before you plug your ears and say, well, this is about insurance, like it's not really about insurance. It's about really protecting your whole house. Right. And we've all
Right.
had patients that have, you know, died or nearly died. And, the secondary tragedy is the financial ruin of the family, right?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
we've all seen patients that have been on life support and sent to a SNF for way too long because they have a pension and the family's living off of it. Like that's
Right.
just a bad place to be.
Right.
And
Right.
so an IUL, or as we call them, a personal retirement account, is one of many strategies. It's not the only one, but it's one strategy that can give you a more
Yeah.
robust life insurance protection that gives you living benefits. You got to make sure you pick the right policy, but it also has it can you park it in it's index, meaning it's tied to the market. So the market goes up 10%
Right.
every year and you're going to get a
Yeah.
percentage of those gains. But if the market takes a correction, as Kevin's talking about, and takes a 20 or 25% dip, your
Mhm.
growth stays at zero. All right. So then when the
Yeah.
market does pick back up again, right, um, the growth starts again, but you're not starting from a deficit. You're not starting from a negative, right? So
Right.
those compounding things over time are really powerful.
Right.
And in the book, The Millionaire Nurse Prescription, which you can get a free copy of at calebthenurse.com, you just register for my free training. You're going to get a free copy of that. And also, the audio version is in this podcast. So if you just want to listen to it, you don't want to give your email, which is totally fine, just go look through the podcast episodes. You'll see the audio version. But if you want the print version, the PDF version, some other retirement resources, you go to calebthenurse.com, register for the free training. I'm going to get those out to you. But if you put in about, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, if you put in about $1,500 a month
Mhm.
over 20 years with a conservative rate of return of 7 to 8%, and
Mhm.
even accounting for some zero growth years,
Right.
meaning there's a market correction, that puts you at around 900 to $1 million in tax-free wealth
Yeah.
in about 20 years. Does that sound about right with the
Yeah.
tables you've
Yeah.
seen?
Yeah. That's right. And so, and the way that is brought out. So you're taking basically you would be taking a loan against the policy. So that's not taxed as income because it's a loan. And
But do I
so
have to pay back the loan?
no, no. As you pull that out, you can pay it back, but as you pull that out, it's just it's counted. It's not counted as income because you've paid it in there. And so then also, you said conservatively 7% to 8%. That's standard what we're supposed to show in the industry. But I've seen policies return a lot higher than that. In fact, some double, if not triple that. We can't advertise that because your future returns are not based on past results. So you can't put that out there. But we have
Disclaimer.
seen that. Yeah. We have seen it. There are, that policy has been widely overlooked. And myself early on included, I didn't know all of the benefits of being able to invest in something like this. And if you're healthy and you qualify for that, then it's pretty much a no-brainer. As far as like being able to perpetuate your yourself, right, and your impact for yourself, your family, but only your children and your children's children. And being able to, if you have kids, being able to set that up now, versus say a Coverdell education plan or a 529 plan, where those things are tied to the market and you could lose money on that. But would you
Hmm.
have something that's going to, maybe, like I said before, you don't get 100% return on that mutual fund or ETF, but you get like an 80%, right? You're still highly competitive in the markets, but you don't take that loss. And so, what I found interesting was the average rate of return, right, on a mutual fund. So, um, let's say you made a 100, let's say 50% return on your investment. Uh, the next year you lost, let's say, uh, 50%. Then you turn around and gained on that. So the average rate of return versus your actual rate of return. That was the. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but
Basically, they zero each other out.
yes, yeah, but the reporting, Caleb. So, in something like that, they would report a average rate of return of 25%. When in actuality, if you do the math, you really didn't gain anything over 2 years. So,
Mm,
if that makes sense.
tricky,
Yeah.
tricky numbers. Well, Kevin, thanks for taking the time to, I'd say, come by the studio, but we're virtual here.
Right.
So, um, I'll give you the last. Well, I'll say something. I'll give you the last word. If you want to learn more about this strategy and you'd like to speak with Kevin specifically, go to calebthenurse.com, register for my free training, and then you'll be given an opportunity to meet with Kevin and some of our all-star financial team to help you build out your personal retirement account. There's no pressure, but I want to help nurses become financially independent. As a nurse for almost 20 years, I don't want to be a nurse for another 20 years. I'll just say it that way. And so, if you're a nurse and you want to learn how to build wealth, subscribe to the Caleb the Nurse podcast. We're going to thank you so much for coming on, Kevin. Watch our free training at calebthenurse.com. Kevin, I'll give you the final word to our nurses.
Yeah. Uh, know where you are and know where you want to go, and make the plan, the solid plan. Even though it may not be what you were taught and thought all of your life. Maybe there's other things out there that can help you to perpetuate and get ahead quickly. So,
All right. Thanks, Kevin. We'll talk soon.
thank you.